Hi, Simon here, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about metabolic therapy. This is the website that I built for Bernardo and his metabolic therapy company. He also runs Cancer Warriors on the school.com platform. And if you're looking to find out about metabolic therapy, then this is where I would suggest you come and have a look first. So you can see it is optimized for mobile, but it tells you all about what we're aiming to achieve on the homepage. There's a bit about working with us help you. We've got about how you can work with us if you want to volunteer. So if you're creative, if you like writing, maybe social media, or maybe you'd want to become one of the moderators in one of the chat groups. We're looking for help all the time with getting this set up. But the page that I'll take you to is under Meta Insights and Treating Cancer. And I won't take you through the whole site because you can obviously look at that for yourself. Just go to metabolictherapy.com and everything that I'm showing you here you'll find there. But this is where I've done a graphic that I think represents quite nicely a representation of metabolic therapy, because it's not really any one thing, and I think a lot of people get caught up on either it's just the diet or just the supplements or the off labels, and really it's none of those things on their own. Now, if you watch Professor Seyfried's videos, he rightly concentrates on the diet and some of the off labels, particularly Don as a glutamine antagonist, because that's his area of expertise. But in terms of metabolic therapy, that's just a part of it. I'm just going to pop myself down on a patch on the grass here. So as you can see from this diagram, we've got ketogenics at the top. So this is the diet. Obviously the diet is important because what we're doing there is we're getting rid of sugar completely out of the diet. We don't want any sugar in our diet because it's just going to potentially feed cancer cells. We don't want that at all. We're also getting the glucose down in the blood by taking out carbohydrates. So we try and limit that to, I think a lot of people talk about a maximum of 20 grams of carbs. I try to keep mine down 10 or below, honestly. And then it's just the rest of the diet is, say, 1/3 protein to 2/3 fat. And so on that diet you get a really good GKI score, glucose ketone index. So your body's running on ketones. You don't need the sugars. Any sugar that your body does need, it can make. And then you pulse the glutamine with either DON or EGCG, and there are a few others that can help with that. And that's one part of it. But as you can see from this diagram, there's more to it. So there are supplements. Now, I've talked about me taking about 8 different supplements for my type of cancer. I have colorectal cancer, and so the drugs that have been tested, or should I say the supplements that have been tested in relation to that, are different from what they may have been to breast cancers or kidney cancers or other brain cancers even. Brain cancers in particular, because obviously glioblastomas are not great at all, and you've also got the blood-brain barrier to contend with. But different supplements work, better or worse with different cancers. So, we've done a lot of research on this website, if you look in the blog, on the various different types of supplement. Now, also we'll talk about redo drugs. So there is a redo project. So it's the repurposing of drugs for oncology. It's a real thing. People are actually out there doing this science, finding out what drugs already exist that might treat one thing, but also have anti-cancer properties. And that's something that's ongoing. You can go and look at their website, and there's hundreds and hundreds of drugs that are being tested. So we don't have that on our site yet. Hopefully that will come in time. Still a fairly new site. But then if you carry on looking on the circle, we've got exercise, helps reducing glucose and glutamine, but also keeps you feeling up. It can help keep muscle mass up as well, which is also important, particularly if you're very slight of frame. Then we move on to well-being. So various forms of meditation and mindfulness are also important, because if you're really stressed, guess what? Your blood sugar goes up. And what does cancer feed on? Oh, blood sugar. So stress can literally kill you if you've got cancer. So well-being is another one of those things that it's really important that you take care of all of the elements. The diet and the ketogenics are kind of interlinked, in as much as you change your diet to affect the ketogenics. So you want high levels of ketones in your blood. You want your body using ketones as a fuel source rather than glucose. But then, the supplements, the redo drugs, the exercise, the well-being, the meditation, they all interlink, and they're kind of circular. So one, not necessarily in this order, that's just an order I use to represent the circle. But if you click on the buttons below, it will give you more details about each of these sections as it relates to press pulse protocol, metabolic therapy, and if you look down here, we also talk about fasting and other holistic integrations, personalised treatments. This website essentially was born out of me trying to find the information that I needed to treat my cancer without having major life-altering surgery. And it was only through finding Bernardo and his group, Cancer Warriors, on school.com, that I found Professor Seyfried's work. And then through talking with various people in that group, it turned out that Bernardo needed help building the website. And so I volunteered, and all the research that I'd done, and even I was carrying on doing research to build this website. So all of the areas, in the about, we talk about Bernardo's story, why he's decided that this is the journey that he wants to take in his life at this time because of his mum. And I also added a bit of my story sort of down the bottom there. There's a slightly older photo of me, but if you want to find out a little bit more about me, I'm right at the bottom. You can see my name at the very bottom of the page there. If you click on that takes you to my GoFundMe. And we talk about Professor Seyfried on here as well, because obviously he's the inspiration for the research that certainly I've done, and the protocol that I'm using, but also that Bernardo relies heavily on for working out his mum's cancer treatment for her glioblastoma. So, really, if you look through this site, this is kind of a journey of, if you were starting to find out about this on your own, this is the kind of information that you're going to come across. And now there's quite a lot of research in terms of what it is, what it's about. Here's the channels that you can follow the professor on. These are his official channels. We've actually also got a warning on here about people using the professor's likeness and actually even publishing books in his name that he gave no permission for. So don't buy into those, because the professor gets nothing out of those. But really, this whole website was born out of people like me and Bernardo trying to find answers for cancer in metabolic therapy and other, treatments related to it, and just not being able to find what we want out there. And so, in terms of trying to give people the answers that we were looking for, that's where this website came from. And so it's really the information that I was looking for and Bernardo was looking for, all of the, so we've got some books that have been reviewed. When we find news, we'll put a post about it. You can see we've got various posts about supplements that we've been posting. And then when you click on those, they take you in, and it's kind of like the deep dive that we've been doing. So these are heavily AI influenced, because I'm not a medical practitioner, I'm not a scientist, I'm not even an official researcher. I mean, I have done a lot of research and I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And that's based on my 30 odd years in IT, where for half of my career, the internet was, practically hopeless at finding answers, and you had to be really good at doing research and finding manuals and sites and, getting to answers in various different ways without just being able to Google it, because Google wasn't a big thing for a long time in my career. So, everything, we've tried to make it as easy as possible. So when you look at these, and we talk about, does it inhibit cell proliferation, yes or no? If you just click on the eye, it gives you a little pop-up and tells you what that's about. And then if you, I've come out too far. If you scroll down on the blog post, we give a little introduction, tell you about it, we tell you what it is. So we give you a general overview to start. And then once you finish the first section, then we start going a little bit deeper. So we'll go a bit more into the dosage, a bit more into the safety, what type of cancers has it been tested against, the side effects, safety considerations, and it's deeper and deeper dive. So if you want more information, it's there, but the big overview's at the top. So if you want to know what this is, where it comes from, it's at the top. What does it affect? Slightly more, and then there's, whenever we've got information that we've referenced through AI, we've got the links directly to the research. So if you just click on those, it takes you into the research and one that needs an update. This article has been retracted. So this was, because it was talking about the P53 and VEGF pathways, but that's no longer relevant. As so often happens with research, it gets updated and we fall a little bit behind. But I hope you can see that when you start to get into metabolic therapy and you start to look at the various aspects of it, which you see in that circle of all the different aspects that you need to be aware of. It's more than just a surface level thing about your diet and getting your GKI right. There's so much more to it because they all interlink and all interact, and so it's well worth considering looking into the more kind of ethereal side of it, if you like, the mindset, the wellness, the well-being, the exercise. If you're not somebody that does a lot of exercise, if you're not naturally active, just doing that can have such a positive impact on your mental well-being. And so if you're not doing it and you've got cancer, you really should do whatever you can. I mean, even if you're not fully mobile, just find out what you can do. Whatever your state, whatever condition you're in, you're going to be able to do something, and that will help you. And so I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into why we're building metabolictherapy.com, why we're adding the content to it, because there is a lot of information out there about metabolic therapy, but it's so disjointed, and you can go and find various experts that will talk about their field in a great deal of detail, but they won't touch on all the other aspects of it. And as somebody who's essentially taking responsibility for their own healthcare in looking at metabolic therapy, because this isn't something you're going to be told about by the NHS, then really it's something that you don't just want one piece of the puzzle. You want to be able to be having some insights into all areas of metabolic therapy and why it's all important. And that's why you'll often find that I do a lot of these videos when I'm out walking, because walking is a big part of my exercise. Yes, I also do weights, and I have a trampoline at home, and I may be looking into adding some other bits into my routine at some point, but I do a lot of walking, and it's not just good. I mean, obviously being in big green open space parks, nice sunny weather, fantastic, it's great. That's also good for the well-being side of things, just being in nature. But all of these things, like I say, they do kind of go together, and when you're looking into this and you're getting started, quite often you'll only come across the Professor Seyfrieds and maybe the Casey Peevlers and various other experts talking about that one thing. I mean, maybe you'll come across hydrogen therapy, maybe you'll come across infrared therapy and methylene blue, and maybe you'll come across DON and HBOT and IVC, and they're all just single aspects of the bigger picture that you really should be looking for. And so hopefully this website, metabolictherapy.com, gives you a little bit more of an insight into that. So, like I say, if you found this video helpful, as always, please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out at spreading the word about metabolic therapy, and also my cause, which is for me to treat my cancer, which is luckily for me stage 1, but unluckily cancer. And I have a GoFundMe for that as well, which you can find out about either clicking the link at the bottom of the website or going to any one of my YouTube videos. But also, if you are in a similar situation where you've been diagnosed with cancer and maybe want to know a little bit more about the alternative therapies, there's also the Cancer Warrior group, which again you can find at the bottom of the website. So please do check that out. So please do subscribe to the channel, share this story if you can, and if you can donate, that would be absolutely fantastic. So Thank you all very much for listening, and take care. I'll see you in the next update.